President Lincoln told his countrymen that a house divided cannot stand. FDR said fear was our only enemy. Jimmy Carter warned of a crisis of confidence, and Bill Clinton felt our pain. President Obama faces the daunting challenge of trying to convince the nation that our best days are not behind us and that we can once again become the great nation the world looks up to. It's the subject of a book titled ADRIFt, Charting Our Course Back to a Great Nation by Stephen Beschloss. Stephen Beschloss, welcome.
Jonathan, good to be with you.
So how did America find itself adrift, and what's your prescription to correct that?
Well, I think there's important to sort of look at the country, what's happened over the recent years. I mean, education is slipping, innovation is down, the middle class is struggling to hang on. Many of the jobs have left our shores or not coming back. These are real problems, and rather than having politicians who are focused on fixing problems and working together, we have them mired in partisan warfare. Mm-hmm. Anybody who's followed, obviously, the debt ceiling fiasco has seen that, and so this is a time where we need a public who puts in place politicians and leaders who are there to really fix problems.
Mm-hmm. Now, there's a new Reuters Ipsos poll that reveals 73% of Americans think the country is on the wrong track, and almost half think the worst is yet to come. So how much of this falls on President Obama, and have past presidents been able to lift the nation back to greatness?
Well, I think it's a failure of leadership. I mean, I think that's really where it starts. And, it starts with the president. But, of course, he came in at an extremely difficult time with perhaps the most partisan Congress that we've seen in our lifetime. And, this is a climate where he's talked about bringing Americans together, about common purpose, which is something we really try to explore in the book, why that's been so important throughout our history to actually drive our success. But I think it's at this point, I think it doesn't simply fall on the president. I think it falls on the dysfunction that exists throughout Washington.
Now, Stephen, do you think Americans are down on their country because, well, we're voracious consumers and basically the country doesn't make anything anymore? So is this really a matter of pride?
Well, I think you're right that we're a nation of consumers. We've gotten accustomed to actually having things, and if you don't have a job, you can't buy those things. Mm-hmm. So this is an economic problem that really didn't just happen. I mean, it's been evolving over the last 20 or 30 years with the decline of jobs, with it moving offshore. Kind of globalization has created an environment where China, India, other countries are prospering. Mm-hmm. They're doing better. The United States has been coasting. And we've failed to have really the strategic leadership and the kind of strategic thinking that would allow us to actually prosper.
Okay, Stephen, I'm going to put you in the Oval Office, in the big chair there. And what's the one thing you would do to fulfill that strategic thinking, strategic leadership mantra, if you will, that you just laid out there? One thing.
Well, of course, everyone's talking about jobs. I think one thing I would pick would be, looking at immigration policy. I mean, immigrants have been absolutely critical to the country's success historically. We have the best and the brightest. They come and they stay. They get degrees. A lot of them actually end up with PhDs, even in disproportion to the numbers of our population, and then they can't get a green card and they leave the country. Right. We need them to actually help the country to move forward.
Great point to end on. Stephen Beschloss, thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me.